Few people know the true story behind the Carmelite scapular. For many, it is just a religious object, a symbol worn around the neck without a deep meaning. But what few people know is that its origin is linked to a mystical apparition, a divine calling, and a man who dedicated almost a century of his life to faith. Saint Simon Stock not only received this gift from heaven, but he also took on a mission of transforming it into one of the greatest symbols of protection and devotion in Christian history. And here comes a question that almost no one asks. Why was the scapular given to Simon Stock precisely at a time of persecution and challenges for the Carmelites? Was it just a sign of faith, or was there something deeper in this gift? What did this promise mean in practice? If the scapular really carries a special blessing, how can it impact your life today? The answer lies in the journey of a man who left the solitude of the forest to become one of the great spiritual leaders of his time. But this is not just a story about the past. It's about faith, courage, and the connection between heaven and earth. The scapular is not just a piece of cloth, and the life of St. Simon Stock is not just a religious biography. There are secrets in this journey that can transform your view of devotion, commitment, and spiritual protection. And once you understand that, you may never look at the symbol the same way again. Born in 1165 in the county of Kent, England, Simon Stock came into the world into a deeply devout family. From an early age, his education was marked by an exemplary formation, both in the human, intellectual, and spiritual aspects. Unlike many children of his time, who learned only the basics for everyday life, Simon had access to knowledge that would shape his journey. His home was an environment of faith and discipline, where the search for truth and the will of God were more than just teachings. They were daily experiences. His thirst for wisdom set him apart. While other boys ran to the fields, Simon spent hours reflecting on sacred writings and the mysteries of life. He not only absorbed knowledge, but questioned, seeking to understand the purpose of each lesson. His restless spirit led him to delve into deep studies, something rare for someone so young. It is as if he knew that his life would not follow a common path. After all, great achievements begin with small concerns. And it was this restlessness that guided him beyond the walls of his home. The education he received was not just an accumulation of information, but preparation for something greater. Little by little, it became clear that his path would not be conventional. And who would have thought that in so few years, he would make a decision that would completely change the course of his life? At the age of 12, Simon Stock made a decision that few would have the courage to follow. He left the comfort of his home to live in the solitude of the forest. To many, this would seem crazy. But to him, it was a calling. In the trunk of an oak tree, he found his home for 2 decades, dedicating himself to prayer, penance, and the search for the divine. While others are concerned with earthly ambitions, Simon experienced an existence devoid of luxury, but full of meaning. Imagine yourself in this situation, living in isolation, without distractions, without comfort, without guarantees. What would motivate him to continue? Simon found meaning in that which most people despise: silence. It was in solitude that he learned to listen, not only with his ears, but with his soul. Each day was an exercise in faith, a proof that his search was real. Just as a warrior trains his body before battle, Simon trained his spirit for something he had not yet imagined. But no one isolates themselves forever. The forest shaped his character, strengthened his faith, and made him a man ready for the next step. Because as much as he wanted solitude, his mission was much greater. And it was there in that refuge of wood and earth that he prepared himself for a calling that would change not only his life, but the history of the Christian faith. After years of solitude, Simon Stock had an experience that would change his destiny forever. During one of his long prayers, he had a vision of the Virgin Mary. She not only brought him comfort, but also a clear calling. He was to join the Carmelite order. Imagine spending years searching for answers and suddenly receiving such a direct mission. He understood that his time as a hermit had served its purpose. Now, he must take his faith to the world. Determined to obey the revelation he had received, Simon left the forest and set out to study theology at the renowned University of Oxford. It was not an easy transition. After years of silence and contemplation, he now found himself surrounded by debates, books, and teachers. But this phase was crucial. If he was to fulfill his calling, he needed to deeply understand the faith he so defended. His dedication was intense, and he soon became a priest, consolidating his spiritual and intellectual journey. But a calling never comes without challenges. When he joined the Carmelites, Simon found not only a new spiritual home, but also difficulties. The order was undergoing change and facing resistance. Many did not believe that a man who came from solitude had what it took to guide and strengthen the Carmelites. But Simon's destiny was not to hide, it was to transform. and he was about to prove it to the world. With his devotion and knowledge, Simon Stock quickly distinguished himself among the Carmelites, being appointed Vicar General of the order in Europe. This position, however, brought him not only prestige, but also great responsibility. The Carmelite order faced immense challenges, from religious persecution to difficulties in adapting to the new European context. In times of crisis, many give up, but Simon saw the obstacles as signs that he was on the right path. Faith never grows in a comfort zone. Resistance did not only come from outside. Within the church itself, other religious orders saw the Carmelites as outsiders, a group that did not fit into the traditional mold. Like all great leaders, Simon had to make difficult decisions. Instead of confronting others, he chose to consolidate the Carmelite identity, strengthening their spirituality and discipline. He knew that, in order to succeed, the order needed to become unshakable internally before gaining external recognition. And that is exactly what happened. Under his leadership, the Carmelites not only survived, but grew. Simon was not a warrior in the literal sense, but he fought daily battles to ensure that his mission continued. And the proof that he was on the right path would come in an unexpected way, a new vision, a new symbol, something that would carry its influence beyond his time. In the midst of the difficulties he faced as leader of the Carmelites, Simon Stock received a visit that would change the destiny of the order forever. Our Lady appeared to him bearing a heavenly gift, the Carmelite Scapular. In the vision, Mary gave him the symbol and made a powerful promise. Those who wore the scapular with faith would be protected and guided to salvation. For Simon, this was not just a divine sign, but an answer to his prayers. Imagine the impact of this revelation. In a time of persecution and uncertainty, a simple piece of cloth will become a symbol of protection and alliance with heaven. The scapular was not an amulet, but a commitment. It was like a constant reminder that faith requires trust and surrender. From then on, devotees began to wear the scapular as a manifestation of their connection with God, a symbol that would span centuries and touch millions of lives. But a symbol only becomes stronger when there is action. Simon not only spread the scapular among the Carmelites, but also took its message beyond the walls of the order. Devotion grew, and with it, the certainty that this vision was not an isolated event. It was a beginning of something much greater. And if the scapular was a blessing, Simon's mission was not yet over. There was more to be done. Simon Stock lived for almost a century, and each of his days was dedicated to the faith and expansion of the Carmelite order. Even at an advanced age, his determination remained intact. He traveled, preached, formed disciples, and strengthened devotion to the scapular. What began as a personal vision became a movement that crossed borders. His name, previously unknown outside religious circles, became synonymous with protection and spiritual commitment. Devotion to the scapular spread rapidly among Christians. Kings, popes, and simple believers adopted the habit of wearing it, recognizing it as a symbol of belonging to the faith and the intercession of Our Lady. Simon not only witnessed this expansion, but nourished it with his own life. He was not a leader who simply gave orders. He was someone who lived intensely each teaching he transmitted. His example drew multitudes. And so his mission did not end with his death. Centuries later, the scapular continues to be a sign of protection and faith for millions of people throughout the world. Simon Stock's story proves that divine calling, when followed with courage, has the power to transcend generations. But in today's world, do we still understand the true meaning of his legacy? Now that you know the story of St. Simon Stock and the Carmelite scapular, the question remains, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to let this be just another story you heard, or are you going to apply its teachings to your life? Simon not only believed, but he acted. He faced challenges, resisted difficulties, and carried out a mission that spanned centuries. What about you? Are you ready to strengthen your faith and live with more purpose? The scapular is not a talisman, nor a decorative piece. It is a symbol of commitment, a daily reminder of your connection with God. If St. Simon Stock dedicated almost a century to spreading this message, the least we can do is reflect on it. How can you strengthen your faith in your daily life? How can you transform your devotion into something more alive and present? If this story made sense to you, then don't let this knowledge die here. Share this message. Encourage more people to understand the true meaning of the scapular. And of course, subscribe to the channel to continue learning about topics that really make a difference in your life. Turn on notifications, and we'll see you in the next video.